Have you ever wondered how the fate of an entire empire could hinge on the cries of a single infant drifting along a mighty river? In one of the most astonishing narratives in the Quran, a powerless baby becomes the central figure, destined to confront the world's most oppressive ruler. Join us as we unfold the remarkable story of baby Musa, peace be upon him, and the chain of miracles that placed him under the very roof of Pharaoh, an act that would seal the tyrant's downfall and alter history forever. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Welcome to the first episode in our series on the life of Prophet Musa, peace be upon him. In this installment, we explore the remarkable beginnings of Musa's story, as detailed in Surah Al-Qasas of the Holy Quran, focusing on his birth and the extraordinary circumstances that led him into Pharaoh's palace. Musa's early life unfolds against a backdrop of oppression and hardship, yet it is infused with powerful demonstrations of divine protection and wisdom. Through these verses, we witness how Allah's plan triumphs over even the mightiest tyrant's schemes. Before we delve into the verses, it's essential to understand the context in which Prophet Musa was born. Surah Al-Qasas 28:4 sets the scene by describing Pharaoh's tyranny. Indeed, Pharaoh exalted himself in the land and made its people into factions, oppressing a sector among them, slaughtering their newborn sons and keeping their females alive. Indeed, he was of the corruptors. Here we learn how Pharaoh split the population into castes, with the children of Israel, Musa's people, at the bottom. He resorted to ruthless measures to maintain power, including the systematic killing of male infants. This tyranny formed the grim backdrop to Musa's birth, intensifying the danger that surrounded him from the very beginning. Despite Pharaoh's brutality, Allah's plan was already in motion to save the newborn Musa and ultimately bring relief to the oppressed. In Surah Al-Qasas 28:5-6, Allah reveals, "And we wanted to confer favor upon those who were oppressed in the land, and make them leaders, and make them inheritors, and establish them in the land, and show Pharaoh and his minister Haman and their soldiers through them that which they had feared." Even as Pharaoh sought to decimate the sons of the Israelites, Allah intended to raise one of those very sons as a sign and a leader. This divine promise foreshadows Musa's future mission: to stand against Pharaoh's injustice and lead his people to freedom. The verses remind us that human cruelty can never thwart the ultimate plan of the Almighty. The Quran then shifts focus to the intimate scene where Musa's mother receives an inspiration from Allah. In Surah Al-Qasas 28:7, it states, "And we inspired to the mother of Moses, suckle him, but when you fear for him, cast him into the river, and do not fear and do not grieve. Indeed, we will return him to you, and will make him one of the messengers." The directive was both astonishing and frightening. Imagine a mother, fearing for her son's life, being asked to place him into a basket and let it drift on the waters of the Nile. Yet the verse assures her not to grieve or fear. This moment illustrates the profound trust she was called to have in Allah's promise, a trust that would be quickly affirmed by subsequent events. The very river that Pharaoh used to oppress the children of Israel would become the means of salvation for baby Musa. By placing her child in a basket and setting it afloat, Musa's mother was, in essence, surrendering to divine protection. The promise, "Indeed, we will return him to you," not only offered reassurance, but also hinted at a destiny far greater than personal safety. This infant, chosen by Allah, would grow to become a mighty prophet who would challenge the greatest power of his time. Next, the Quran narrates how the floating basket miraculously ended up at Pharaoh's doorstep. In Surah Al-Qasas 28:8, we read, "And the family of Pharaoh picked him up out of the river, so that he would become to them an enemy and a cause of grief." Indeed, Pharaoh and Haman and their soldiers were deliberate sinners. In a remarkable twist, the oppressor who decreed the death of all Israelite boys unwittingly becomes the caretaker of the very child who would bring about his downfall. The verse underscores how Pharaoh's own actions set the stage for his eventual defeat. Rather than a random coincidence, this event exemplifies the orchestrated plan of Allah, turning the ruler's palace into a refuge for the one he sought to destroy. Once the baby is discovered, the immediate question for Pharaoh's household is whether to keep this foundling or discard him. Surah Al-Qasas 28:9 offers us a glimpse into the pivotal decision. And the wife of Pharaoh said, "He will be a comfort of the eye for me and for you. Do not kill him. Perhaps he may benefit us, or we may adopt him as a son." And they perceived not what was to be. This verse introduces Pharaoh's wife, often identified in Islamic tradition as Asiya, who would later become one of the noblest women in history. Her compassionate plea spares Musa's life. She perceives in him an opportunity for good, though she cannot fathom how significant a role he will one day play. Meanwhile, Musa's mother is left in a state of uncertainty and anguish. She has obeyed the divine command, but her maternal heart still longs for her baby. In Surah Al-Qasas 28:10, we read, "And the heart of Moses' mother became empty of all else. She was about to disclose his case had we not bound fast her heart that she would be of the believers." This verse captures the emotional turmoil she endures. Only divine reassurance prevents her from openly revealing that she is the child's mother. Her faith is severely tested, yet she remains steadfast, sustained by Allah's promise that her son would be returned to her. In her desperation, Musa's mother instructs his sister to follow the basket and keep an eye on his whereabouts. Her sister trails the Nile's flow until she sees Pharaoh's household retrieving the baby. Then, she covertly observes events unfold from a distance. This moment underscores the resourcefulness of the family, as well as the unwavering hope placed in Allah's protection. Surah Al-Qasas 28:11 encapsulates this pursuit succinctly, showing how each family member plays a role in safeguarding Musa through Allah's guidance. An unexpected complication soon arises in Pharaoh's palace. The baby Musa refuses to be fed by any of the wet nurses brought to him. This detail appears in Surah Al-Qasas 28:12. "And we had prevented from him all wet nurses before, so she said, 'Shall I direct you to a household that will be responsible for him for you while they are to him sincere advisors?'" The baby's sister seizes the opportunity to step forward, suggesting a household that can nurse the child. Pharaoh's family, desperate to calm the crying infant, accepts her offer. Unknowingly, they allow Musa's own mother to return and care for him, fulfilling Allah's promise in the most direct way. The emotional culmination of this episode arrives when the baby is finally returned to his mother's embrace. Surah Al-Qasas 28:13 affirms this joyous reunion. "So we restored him to his mother, that she might be content and not grieve, and that she would know that the promise of Allah is true. But most of them do not know." This verse highlights multiple layers of divine wisdom. On a personal level, Musa's mother experiences the relief and happiness of reuniting with her son, while also seeing firsthand that Allah's promise never fails. On a broader level, it foreshadows how events will continue to unfold, guided meticulously by the hand of the Almighty, even though many around them remain oblivious. At this juncture, baby Musa finds an unlikely but luxurious shelter within the very palace of Pharaoh, protected by the family of the greatest tyrant of that era. This improbable twist serves as a profound demonstration of Allah's power over destiny. No human scheme, no royal decree can override the will of Allah. It is a recurring theme in the Quran. When people rely on worldly measures to achieve an end, Allah can overturn those measures in ways they least expect. The story of baby Musa, therefore, is not merely an isolated tale of maternal love or royal benevolence. It is a narrative that underscores Allah's mercy and perfect planning. From the first moment of danger to the comfort of Pharaoh's palace, every step is orchestrated to shape the child who would one day lead the children of Israel out of bondage. In reflecting on this portion of Musa's life, believers are reminded that even the most impossible circumstances can yield miraculous outcomes when anchored in sincere faith. Beyond the historical context, the Quran presents these verses to teach timeless lessons. One of the most evident is the importance of tawakkul, placing one's trust in Allah. Musa's mother exemplifies this trust when she casts her infant into the river, relying on nothing but Allah's assurance. Her steadfastness is rewarded not only with her son's safety, but also with the honor of nurturing a future prophet. This illustrates how genuine reliance on Allah can lead to resolutions beyond human comprehension. Another pivotal lesson is the concept of Allah's overarching plan. Pharaoh's brutal regime instigated an environment of terror. Yet, the very child he wished to eliminate is placed right under his nose, protected by his own household. This scenario reminds us that oppression, no matter how severe, can never derail Allah's ultimate purpose. Often divine wisdom manifests in ways that defy ordinary logic, prompting us to remain patient and faithful even in dire situations. We also glean insight into the nature of Allah's care and love for those who suffer. The Israelites were an oppressed minority, and Pharaoh held seemingly absolute power. Yet Allah's protection of Musa is a symbol of his mercy toward the downtrodden. It reassures us that no matter how formidable a tyrant might appear, Allah's justice will prevail in due time. For the believer, this story is a beacon of hope, reminding us that adversity can be a precursor to extraordinary grace. On a familial level, the relationship between Musa and his mother is central to this narrative. The Quran vividly captures her anguish, her near loss of composure, and then her overwhelming relief upon being reunited with her son. This human dimension allows us to connect emotionally with the story, understanding that even great figures in Islamic history began life under intense trials. Such accounts offer believers today solace and strength, knowing that faith can carry one through the most turbulent storms. The role of Musa's sister in this account should not be overlooked. Her quiet vigilance by the riverbank and her clever suggestion in Pharaoh's court demonstrate how Allah uses multiple individuals to fulfill his plan. While the Quran does not provide extensive details about her life, her presence in these verses underscores the importance of initiative and courage. She intervened at a critical moment to ensure Musa's safety, playing a crucial part in Allah's design. As we conclude this episode, we are left with several profound takeaways. First, Surah Al-Qasas powerfully illustrates that the mightiest of worldly rulers is powerless before Allah's decree. Second, the unwavering faith of Musa's mother is a shining example of trust that believers across the ages can emulate. Third, the generosity and intuition of Pharaoh's wife, later remembered as one of the greatest women of faith, show that mercy can blossom in the most unexpected environments. Lastly, Musa's introduction into Pharaoh's palace lays the groundwork for his eventual rise as a prophet and liberator. In the upcoming episodes, we will continue unraveling Musa's journey, witnessing how he grows from a child in Pharaoh's palace to a man destined for prophethood. We will see how his formative years, divine revelations and trials shape him to become one of history's most significant figures. For now, the birth and infancy of Musa remind us that when Allah wills to protect and guide someone, the entire universe can shift to accommodate that will. May this reflection inspire our own trust in Allah's plans, encourage steadfastness in hard times, and deepen our understanding of the Quranic narrative. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and may peace and blessings be upon his noble messenger, Muhammad, and upon all those who follow the path of righteousness until the day of judgment.